Why We See Movies podcast. I'm your host, Ron Houghton. Joining me today, we've got Darren.
Hello, Wilbur.
And Paul.
Hello.
And Ivan.
What's up?
Today we're going to be talking about the new film, It Comes at Night, starring Joel Edgarton. Later on, we'll do our rant and rave segment, but first, let's see what's going on inside the entertainment world with...
You, on the mark!
Hey guys.
Hi. Hey.
How's it going?
Great.
Aces.
Yeah.
A little while ago, Marvel released the new trailer for Black Panther. I'm sure you guys all saw the trailer.
Sure did.
Yeah.
All right. Who wants to start with their first thoughts? Paul?
I really liked it. One of the things I really appreciate about the Marvel Universe is the fact that you get different flavors to that universe. I really liked the color palette of this trailer, the overall look of it. I liked the fact that it was just enough to get you interested in the project, because I always like to watch these trailers and teasers just to kind of get a feel for what we're going to see on screen. And I think this did exactly that. It gave you a taste of what's to come, but didn't give away too much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not a teaser trailer. I was surprised to see a full trailer.
Yeah.
The movie's still a year and a half off, too, isn't it?
It comes out in February. It's a really early release.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's still a while away for a full trailer like this. You're right, Paul. I don't know if I want to see much more than this.
Yeah, and I was surprised that it was full-blown. I thought, yeah, we're going to get a 30-second teaser and that's it. But
A Black Panther logo and not much else.
exactly, and the sound of something in the jungle or something. But no, I really liked what I saw.
It got me really excited, actually. I think that based on what I've seen so far, I'm way more excited for this than Thor Ragnarok. I think the color palette looks far more appropriate to this film than it does in Thor. As you mentioned the color palette, Paul, I can just see the various African cultures represented, and it just looks great. I'm very excited for this.
And if you hadn't seen Black Panther and Civil War, would you still be this interested in it?
Based on this trailer, yeah. It was a really good trailer.
Ivan, what did you think?
No, I liked it. I watched it with the sound off because I'm kind of just wanted to kind of catch just the look, but I didn't really want to catch any dialogue or anything too much just because spoilers.
Just get a little taste?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It had like 90 million views, more views than the Thor trailer. There's definite interest in this. I got high hopes for it.
Yeah, it is a great cast and a solid director, and I would look forward to it immensely.
It's one thing because you, like you said, the large cast, seeing the announcements of all these actors being added to the cast, and you think, how are they going to effectively use all of them? But seeing the trailer gives me a lot of hope that they will know how to use them. And
again, I saw the trailer a few times, and there's lots in it, but I can't piece together a storyline either. So it's nice.
I think
you're right. If this is all I see, you can go in with a lot of surprises. Yeah.
It leaves you wanting more, which is what it should do.
The tone looks serious, too, and not so tongue-in-cheek and full of comedy like Thor Ragnarok looks, which...
We're buddies from work.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather a more serious film, and it looks like it's going to
Thor Ragnarok very gave me a Guardians impression. Just the way that they worked the music and everything, and it never really seemed like they knew exactly what to do with Thor so far in these movies. It kind of went all over the place.
We'll see how they handle Spider-Man first. We got that.
Yeah.
That was very surprising to see that trailer out. It's almost, I was almost wondering if it was in reaction to how Wonder Woman was doing.
Yeah.
Marvel's like, no, we better put something on.
We got to stay on the radar.
Okay. In more comic book news, switching studios from Marvel to Fox, there's a lot of news about the new X-Men movie coming out. It has a title, X-Men Dark Phoenix, and it's going to be continuing the storyline that we've seen from First Class, Days of Future Past, and Apocalypse. Unfortunately, writer-producer Simon Kinberg is slated to make his directing debut on this, and it looks like most of the cast is coming back too, including James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, and Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Jessica Chastain is in talks to be Shi'ar.
Or Lilandra, the leader of the Shi'ar. Yeah. So
Lilandra.
We were talking about Dark Phoenix, the storyline, earlier in another podcast, and we were saying, are they going to go into the Shi'ar and do all of that? Apparently, yes.
But then don't you have to start with Phoenix being the good entity unless you're going to completely rewrite the story into
That's where we
else?
get into more problems, because not only did they announce that, but they also have a casting call for this movie for new characters, including the characters of Sunfire, Dazzler, Mimic, Rogue, Sauron, who is a villain, Mastermind, who is a villain, the Hellfire Club.
Jeez.
What the hell are they doing? How could you possibly do the Dark Phoenix storyline in
one movie?
Right.
They couldn't even
add all of this.
They couldn't even use the cast effectively in the last movie, and now they're expanding that cast. It baffles me.
Especially they made Mystique leader of the freaking X-Men now, too.
It's for people who read the comic books and watch the movies, Mystique is a minor character in the comic books.
Yeah.
And not just that,
leading these X-Men movies, it's ridiculous.
And what new tragedy is going to befall Magneto? Because in every movie, something's got to happen.
They have to handcuff Xavier and Magneto.
If there was one X-Men movie that doesn't need Mystique and Magneto, it's this one. So I don't know what they're thinking.
Yeah, the Age of Apocalypse really killed my enthusiasm for this franchise, which is too bad because I loved the movie before. Days of Future Past I thought was great, and then it just seems like, as it goes, I get less and less interested.
I'm rooting for it, but sounds like a...
Yeah, I'm just not seeing the storyline. To me, it doesn't make sense how they're going to do all this in 2 hours when this is supposed to be like, 4-movie story arc, even if they did it properly.
At least one long movie just concentrating on this storyline only.
But you got to start with the Phoenix storyline.
Yeah, I know.
For like a 3-hour movie, and then maybe another 3-hour movie.
They've had some slight introductions of of her getting the Phoenix ability, but that's not enough to set it up properly.
If they're going to introduce a Shi'ar, they're doing the crystal.
Well, probably. That's what I mean. If they're going to do the whole storyline with the Hellfire Club and Mastermind, Jason Wingard, seducing Jean Grey and turning her into the Dark Phoenix, and include the Shi'ar, it's impossible to do it all. No. We'll see. Okay, back to Fox and another mismanaged property. When it comes to the Fantastic Four rights that we were all hoping that Marvel might get back, Fox has just announced that they are now planning a kid-friendly Fantastic Four, more in line with The Incredibles. Wow, what a bad idea that is.
Yep.
Crickets. Yeah, nobody's interested in Fox producing anything with the Fantastic Four, right? No matter what they come up with.
No.
Well, they've had 3 movies and they haven't done it right. So,
like, this is obviously just an attempt to retain the rights.
For sure, and try something new and different, I suppose. But
bring some more money out of it.
Target a different audience since there seems to be a shift towards R-rated movies. Maybe get that just G-rated superhero movie and get more little butts in the seat, I guess.
So, was that first Fantastic Four movie also Fox?
Yeah, they've had the rights for like 25 years.
So this is the 5th movie then that they would be making.
Oh, you're talking like the old
Roger Corman one?
Yeah, that wasn't Fox, was it?
No, I think it was actually.
It might have been the same.
They hired Roger Corman to do it. Yeah.
So then this could be the 5th.
No, they won't be that. I don't think he'd get away with something like that. Well, actually,
no, but I'm just saying, like,
that's coming later.
If they do go ahead with this will be the 5th Fantastic Four movie, and they've yet to do it right.
That's for sure. So yeah, my hopes for Marvel retaining the rights to that property are still in limbo. But lots of Spider-Man news going on. Of course, Sony owns the rights to that character, and they've been trading him off and on with Spider-Man Homecoming and Captain America Civil War. And remember when I told you guys there was that 3rd Spider-Man movie that Tom Holland was contractually obligated to do? Well, all of that has just been swirling around the mix in the last few weeks here. Did anybody see that interview with Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal?
I heard about it, and I heard about his reaction to what she said.
Basically, Amy was talking about Amy Pascal being the senior Sony spokesperson and kind of in charge of their Spider-Verse. And she was talking about the Venom movie and, of course, Spider-Man Homecoming, which they're promoting. And how she was saying that the Venom movie, the Silver Sable, Black Cat movie, and the 3rd Spider-Man movie will all be tangentially maybe tied into the Marvel Universe somehow. Not quite something. And that's when Kevin Feige looks like he was...
What?
Yeah, it's pretty funny if you want to watch that interview and try to read what's going on. Because, of course, if it's true that they've managed to somehow make some agreement that these movies might have some connection together, that is not the proper place to announce this sort of thing.
Or maybe it's just trying to drum up excitement for Venom. Oh, it's part of this universe, but it's really not.
You mean Amy trying to pull a little fast one?
Yeah, just bullshit.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Because you would think that Marvel would have been like, yes, we want these characters. Hell yeah.
Yeah, and now Sony has said that they're trying to get Tom Holland to at least agree to be in a lot of their spin-off films, which just today they announced that they're thinking of a Kraven the Hunter movie, a Mysterio movie, like all of these villain movies, because that's all they have. And begging Tom Holland to participate in them somehow.
And that'll burn up any kind of commitment he's got to the character and to the studio pretty damn quick. If they do get him to do that. So
they've announced that Carnage will be the villain in the Venom movie. And that makes sense.
But it just doesn't, because for all these things to make sense, they would basically have to make this movie with people going to watch it knowing the story of Venom.
It's almost like Fox owning the rights to Fantastic Four saying, oh, we've got a big slate planned. We've got a Franklin Richards movie coming out. We've got a Human Torch movie coming out. We've got a Mole Man movie coming out.
Herbie the Robot.
Right. Side spin-offs to every single thing that we can think of. Desperate.
Absolutely.
Let's just hope that if Sony made this deal with Marvel and Spider-Man Homecoming is the huge success that it is, that maybe the Fox shareholders will force Fox to start playing ball with Marvel and at least try to negotiate some sort of deal where they can have the same sort of riches, benefit them that everybody else is.
Just also seems like they're just kind of trying to speed all these things along to kind of take advantage of Spider-Man being part of the MCU and kind of ride that wave.
Yeah, they are.
I'm sick of all these verses. Can I say that? Whether it's the Monsterverse or the Zillaverse or whatever, I'm just tired of hearing about verses.
May not be around for very long.
Good thing for you. Yeah, they're dying out quickly, so there might not be many left after Star Wars and Marvel, but we'll see. And speaking of leaving the comic book news, in Star Wars news, directors Phil Lord and Chris Miller have been fired from the Han Solo spin-off movie mid-shoot after clashes with producer Kathleen Kennedy. This is very rare in the movie business for directors to be fired during a shoot.
Yeah.
Supposedly, it was creative differences, of course. That's always the line. But
and she'll win that fight every time, obviously.
I've heard that it has to do with they were letting the actors ad-lib more, kind of have more freedom, but she wanted them to stick to the script, and that's what caused the clashes.
Something like that, right. They have more of a fast, loose way of working that didn't mesh with the Star Wars way of doing things,
and it's
which is
funny.
Probably very Imperial-like.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and it's funny because there was rumor then today after they were let go from this production that they were negotiating to get back on The Flash, which, if that's their style, that definitely seems to align more with that type of character.
For sure.
Because, yeah, something like Star Wars, you don't want just things ad-libbed and loosey-goosey. You've got a strict regimented goal and things you need to achieve in these movies.
It's kind of funny that I was saying, like, I thought the Flash movie could be a comedy vehicle last week. Yeah, these would be the perfect guys for it. If you don't know what else these guys have made, they're responsible for the Lego movie and the 21 Jump Street movie and its sequel. So these guys, comedy is their wheelhouse, for sure.
Well, the Flash is more of a comedic character, but I don't think that should be a straight-up comedy.
But I'm saying I also wouldn't want Han Solo to be too goofy either. I think that movie should have kind of a dark side, too.
And if you're improvising the script, the DC universe seems to be the way to go. They have no structure, nothing coherent going on.
Right. DC needs fresh imagination to come in there. Star Wars is kind of like, we know what we're doing.
Everything's a slave to the story in Star Wars, and you can't really deviate too much.
And for replacements, Ron Howard has been tipped to replace them.
That'd be amazing to see a Ron Howard Star Wars movie.
Obviously, they want a really seasoned filmmaker that they can get along with, who will keep in line with what they're going for, and can jump into a production like this halfway through and be able to manage it properly.
Words I never thought I'd hear: a Ron Howard directed Star Wars movie.
Yeah,
remember he directed
Willow. Yeah,
well, fair enough.
So he did participate with George Lucas on that.
He's in the Lucasfilm universe already.
Of course, their first choice would be Lawrence Kasdan, who's writing the script and, of course, is heavily involved in the Star Wars universe. But I just read that there's some sort of rule that a writer on a project or someone already involved on the project can't be hired to replace the director.
A Lucasfilm rule?
No, probably like either a WGA rule or a DGA rule.
I can't imagine that they could enforce that. I mean,
there's a lot of
if the studio or the producers want something to happen, maybe there'd be fines or some sort of consequences. But if they want someone to direct it, I mean, it's their project, right? I don't see why they couldn't.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure of the legalities of it, but that's what I read.
Yeah, it just sounds weird.
Especially considering all the independent projects out there that you got to think there's people wearing multiple hats.
Yeah.
And of course, he's, besides being a screenwriter, he's a fine director.
Yes.
So either way, they better find somebody quick.
Yeah.
As we said, it's a mid-shoot.
So now are they going to have to go back and do reshoots then?
Yeah, definitely.
So reshoots the same scenes, just more to the script, huh?
More in line with that director's vision, yeah.
It makes me wonder, I should say, whether that's going to push the release date back.
And also budget, right? Because, they got to go back and reshoot the same stuff. It's going to cost money.
Oh, they have to inflate the budget. Yeah.
They've already said they're not changing the release date, so I'm not sure they're going to.
So whoever's the director's going to be under the gun.
Yeah, they're working long hours. So, that was surprising news for sure. More news on the acting front. Daniel Day-Lewis has retired from acting. I guess retiring as the champ. Is that what we want to call it? He has one more movie coming out this Christmas, a Paul Thomas Anderson film. It's an untitled movie about the fashion industry, I think in Paris in the mid-50s.
Hopefully it goes out with a bang. And
yeah, I'm sure he'll give a stellar performance in it.
He's always had a penchant for picking interesting projects anyway.
For sure. And it's not like this guy works a lot anyways.
No.
You know, in the new millennium, he's really only worked for Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese, and Paul Thomas Anderson. Like, it takes guys like that to get him out of the house.
He's retired before, hasn't he?
I thought so.
Maybe.
Or just been on extremely extended hiatus. But I thought he had announced retirement before.
Right. Well, it's official this time.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
See, what I heard,
I see.
What I heard was somebody's comment to their announcement news, like, no, he's just preparing for a role of an actor retiring from Hollywood.
Yeah, maybe.
But is he going out Sean Connery style, punching the director and then retiring?
He might.
No, I don't think he's leaving the business because of any animosity. Yeah, I think he's just, with his commitment level to projects and how involved he gets in characters. Like he says, he apologizes to his wife after finishing a movie because, I'm sorry you had to spend 2 years with Abraham Lincoln. Because he doesn't leave character. So, he might be like that at home. If I was his wife, I might be pushing for retirement as well. But anyways, yes, one of the greats has retired. Have a good life, Daniel. Thank you for your performances. You're one of the best.
Mm-hmm. My left foot, he's retiring.
My left foot. And then in celebrity passings, we should mention a few people. First one I want to mention is Adam West, of course. We all grew up with him as our Batman, didn't we? We're all old enough to say that.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
As our first Batman.
Definitely my first Batman.
Keaton was my first Batman, but
you're the young one.
He was my first Batman, but not my favorite. It's one of those things where I liked the show as a kid, and then as my sensibilities developed as an adult, I kind of wanted the darker Batman, but I always appreciated him and his light personality, and he never took himself serious. And then he's the mayor of Quahog in Family Guy. Like, he was just a very engaging guy every time I saw him, as much as I found him amusing as Batman. But it was, unfortunate.
And the sheer fact that he was the only superhero that you could really see on television back then.
Yeah.
That was all we got.
And defined that character for many generations.
There was Green Hornet.
I never remember watching that as a kid. It wasn't
on. They did a crossover as well.
It wasn't on the repeats.
I never saw any Green Hornet growing up. But
of course, I was
Batman
old enough to see Batman on its original run. We're not that old.
No.
But of course, it was on TV. It's,
repeats.
Yeah.
I think I'd appreciate it more now that I'm a little
You're
more...
past the stage of criticizing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you said about Roger Moore, Adam West was the right Batman for his time, right?
And there's certain lines that make me laugh now, which makes me think that, if I revisited it, I could take it for what it was. Like, some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
That was in the movie.
Exactly.
I remember when he was on The Simpsons, I never needed a rubber suit for muscles. Pure West.
Unfortunately, he didn't really work all that much more. He was really typecast as Batman. And it's too bad. One movie that I do remember him in, and I haven't seen it since maybe the mid-90s when it came out. It was called The New Age. It was directed by Michael Tolkien, who wrote The Player. And it starred Peter Weller and Judy Davis. And he played the father in it. And he is all I remember from that movie. He was so good in it. I just remember watching him as this fantastic supporting role. He's kind of a creepy louse of a guy and amazing. He was just like killing it. I was like, wow, this guy is a true actor and he really should be getting more work. And nothing happened after that. I was really disappointed. If anyone can check out this movie, it's very hard to find. But if you're interested in a nice performance from him, it's called The New Age.
Everyone is typecast unless you're at the absolute top of your game in Hollywood, so it's unfortunate.
Bob Denver was playing Gilligan, I think, till he died.
Oh, yeah.
So that's, it's kind of sad. But I'm sure I know he had more to offer than that, so it's too bad. In another passing, an actress died that I was a fan of when I first started getting interested in film. Her name is Glenne Headley. She was in a bunch of movies in the late 80s, early 90s, from Dirty Rotten Scoundrels to Mr. Holland's Opus to an interesting mystery. It's kind of a Rashomon-type film called Mortal Thoughts with Demi Moore and Bruce Willis. Do you ever see that?
Oh, maybe I remember the title. No, I've never seen it.
Right. And, of course, she was also in Dick Tracy.
Yeah.
And because of that, I hadn't seen Dick Tracy since the 90s, so I rewatched that recently. It's terrific. I've really
never seen it.
Its color palette and its look, it came out right around the same time as Batman, and Batman got all the glory back then. Dick Tracy was still pretty much a hit. When it comes to set design and the look of the film, I think Dick Tracy is just as good as Batman or better. It has a fantastic Danny Elfman score. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think at the time, it was just like what we're talking about with Batman. Maybe I was at the wrong age to appreciate it because it's really taking, more of a campy approach, but it holds up for sure today. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I remember liking it when I've not revisited it since, but I liked it when I first saw it in the theater, and you're right. The design of the film is as pure comic book as you can get.
It looks glorious for back then. Really something.
And that's actually just the visual style of it was something that, even though I haven't watched it, it made it something that I wanted to watch. I just, unfortunately, haven't caught up with yet, so...
Yeah, definitely check it out. And it's funny, we were just talking about retaining rights. Warren Beatty owns the rights to this movie, right? Or to the character of Dick Tracy. Yeah. And he will not let anyone else make a Dick Tracy movie while he's alive. So I guess I just found out right when the rights were about to expire about 5 years ago. Did you know he released something called the Dick Tracy Interview?
No.
Where he played Dick Tracy being interviewed as a half-an-hour special on ABC. And he just did it just to retain the rights for another 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just supervise or produce a project with someone else that you can have meet your vision, I guess, if you want it that badly.
Well, he already put out his vision.
Anyways, Glenne Headley, I agree, was a good actress. I've always enjoyed her too.
She's terrific in it, and much better than Madonna. It was kind of her first big kind of glitzy performance, and she brings nothing to the movie. I always thought she was a poor actress, and if this is the best thing she's ever been in, she's still not very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but besides that, you're right. Back to Glenne Headley. Yeah, fine actress, and unfortunately died very young at only 62. So that's very sad. That's all I have for news this week, guys. Dex, you got anything for us?
Would anybody like to play a round of guess what TV series my wife's grandmother really watched?
Always.
Always look forward to it.
Well, my wife got the phone call from her grandmother about a week or so ago saying, Megan, that show you recommended, Dirty Double, was pretty good.
Dirty Double?
I enjoyed Dirty Double. I'm thank you for the recommendation.
Wow. Sounds like something on the Adult Network.
Welcome to the Double D Diner.
Dirty Double. Okay.
It's not Twin Peaks related. Let that be your first clue.
Dirty Double.
It
involves twins?
No. There's not much to do with
broke girls?
Either doubles or dirty.
Excellent. Yeah. Should be easy then. We've all heard of this?
Oh, you've all seen it.
Daredevil?
You've probably all seen it more than once. Ivan, kudos for the...
Wow.
With very few clues.
What? Daredevil. DD.
That would be it, I guess.
Okay.
So her grandparents signed up for Netflix. And the very first thing, I guess, advertised when they signed up on the screen was Iron Fist. So they informed Megan, we're watching Iron Fist. Like, what?
So we were right. It's because it was the only first thing on the screen.
So. Well, yeah, my grandparents were watching Iron Fist, and Megan's like, look, if you guys are going to watch a Netflix Marvel series, which is crazy that my grandparents are watching a Netflix Marvel series, but at least watch Daredevil. Don't watch Iron Fist. And they did. They watched Daredevil, and they apparently enjoyed it.
Wow.
Are they in the closet comic book fans, and they don't know it? Or?
I doubt it.
Maybe they don't even know it's a comic book movie.
I don't know. Yeah, who knows? Probably not.
It's less fantastical than a lot of the superhero fare out there, so I could see how that would be an easy kind of...
Yeah, I'd recommend something more along the lines of Downton Abbey or something.
That's what would come to mind for myself. But hey, if you're going to start with Iron Fist, you might as well go up the scale to the better shows after that.
Tell them to get ready for the Defenders coming out.
So they're on board.
Nice. Good job, Ivan.
Good one.
That
Honestly, I was all night. Dirty Double. I was like, D and double.
And that was it. You nailed it.
It was a shot in the dark.
Nice job.
Bullseye.
Okay, shall we move on to our feature review?
I don't see why not.
What's he see? What's he see?
He heard something. Let's get back in the house. Now!
Could have been an animal, not a person. But just to be safe, a red door stays closed and locked all the time.
Oh, you scared me. How old are you, Travis?
17. I like the man. Dad, someone's in the house.
You're positive that the door is already open?
Yes.
Well, then who opened it?
Can't trust anyone but family.
Please, let us go. It's okay, sweetie. It's gonna be okay.
It Comes at Night was written, directed by Trey Edward Schultz. It stars Joel Edgerton, Christopher Abbott, Carmen Ejogo, Riley Keough, and Kelvin Harrison Jr. I'll give you my synopsis. In the aftermath of a mysterious pandemic, a family retreats to their secluded forest home. When another family appears seeking refuge, they decide to give them shelter. That's all I'm going to say about it. Okay, why don't we give our first thoughts on this movie? Darren, why don't you begin?
I thought this was a pretty fine thriller. It is tautly written and directed. There's little extraneous in it. I might have a few nitpicks about some of the style choices, but solid story, great cast. I always loved Joel Edgerton, and the supporting cast was really good in this as well. It's one of the best things in the theater right now.
Okay, Paul?
I agree with Darren. I quite enjoyed it. I thought it brought the tension that it needed to and the scenes it needed to. Very well cast, very well acted. Like Darren said, a really tight story. For me, I would say I would have enjoyed it more had it been marketed differently. I went into it expecting a horror movie, and
it's a terrible title for this film.
Right.
It's a great title, but it's not the right title for this film.
Yeah, so I kept waiting for more to happen, and in retrospect, if I knew what type of movie it was going into it, I would have enjoyed it more rather than waiting for something that was never coming. Because I thought it was a great character study in the people in the situation they were in. I thought it was very believable. It leaves you with questions. It does exactly everything it needs to, but I kept waiting for that bigger horror element to come out, and it never did. So for me, immediately, I left the theater feeling a little underwhelmed. And it's the kind of movie that stays with you a little bit, where the more I think about it, the more I realize how much I did enjoy it. And I think on a repeat watch, knowing exactly what it is, I would enjoy it more.
Yeah.
Okay. Paul. Paul, once again.
So, as Ivan was
saying. Please revise your
Ivan.
I'm pretty much going to be agreeing with Paul here. I thought it was going to be a horror movie. And quite frankly, I kind of missed the fact that it was just a psychological thriller, and the things that built up to it. I was like, I missed it because I was so focused on all these other things. And when the movie ended, I was like, what? That was it? It's a good psychological thriller. I just wish I knew that that's what it was going into the movie, so that way I can just sit back and enjoy it, versus the entire time I'm trying to look at all these things. Are they clues to what's going to be coming in the end? And I'm all, I'm looking at overanalyzing this, and it's like all that stuff was completely useless. It was just, it didn't reveal anything. It was just kind of part of the shots to kind of give you the atmosphere. So I would say they really could have done a better job of advertising this. The title, the poster, just everything about it was like, it's going to be a horror, that it's going to be the scariest movie you've ever seen. And it's like, no, it's a character movie. It's driven by characters, and they really shouldn't have done it the other way. Because afterwards I started looking it up, and a lot of people had a lot of negative things to say about this, and it was mainly due to the fact that they were going in there expecting a different kind of movie, and they were all just completely caught off guard.
Okay. I guess I agree with all you guys. I enjoyed the movie too. I thought it was a very effective thriller. I didn't see any of the advertising for it. Was the trailer...
The trailer...
was like a horror film?
The trailer's presented like it's a horror film, although it hints at it being a interior horror, maybe something coming from someone in the house, as opposed to a supernatural element. But it's so edited and sound designed like a horror movie trailer. Right. That's clearly the audience they're marketing to, is the younger horror fans, which is why, like you say, Ivan, it's got some poor reviews from audiences.
Yeah.
Anyone expecting a horror movie is not getting it.
And then when they're advertising to that group, they don't want a psychological thriller where it's that slow burn payoff. They want the gore with crazy death scenes.
Exactly. And studios need to have confidence in their material. And especially when you have a film this good, market it to the people who are going to be interested in this film and not to a completely different audience.
Right. So they went for the payday?
Yeah.
To me, it's almost like marketing a simple plan as a horror movie, where it's very much
good comparison.
A character study of people in a specific situation and how they're going to react and deal with it.
We've all seen how you can take any movie and cut whatever trailer you want for it.
Just the It's a Wonderful Life as Wolf of Wall Street trailer is the best example.
Mrs. Doubtfire as a psychological thriller.
Yeah.
So it's too bad that they did that because the film as a whole is effective at what it wants to be.
Yeah.
I'd say by the half an hour mark, I was saying to myself, okay, so I was kind of right in my one interpretation of the trailer is that it's not a horror thriller, it's a psychological thriller because there doesn't seem to be anything supernatural coming along here. And yeah, there's nothing supernatural in this
Right.
film.
If anything we see that's somewhat supernatural, it's all in dream sequences. And that's probably what they were using in the trailer.
Right.
To focus on two words that you guys said, atmosphere and slow build. Those would be the two things I would say this movie is all about.
Very slow burn.
Yeah.
Right. But still works very effectively. The performances are all good. It's only a cast of 6, unless you want to count the dog.
1 or 2 oddball extras
Or
that don't really
5
have
if you don't
lines.
or 5 if you don't want to count the kid.
The children are an important part of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. The basic story of it is so... Can we talk about the story a little bit before getting into spoilers?
Yeah.
I think
go for it.
Yeah, I
we
think
can tackle
so.
it. Yeah. Just seems that there's this, we never find out, an indeterminate disease, plague, something that is seemed to more or less end civilization and some of the survivors living in the woods. And
we get the sense that it's happened very quickly, right?
happened very quickly.
Within like the last month or so?
Perhaps. I don't know. You know what? I don't know if I could say the timeline, to be honest. And it's terrible, whatever this disease was, because it has everyone very much on edge, very cautious about contact with anyone else, very cautious of their neighbor. And the movie begins with someone in this household in the woods dying from this disease, right? The grandfather of the teenage boy. And he dies and his body is taken care of. How did he get the disease? We never find out as well. I'm sure we're as in the dark as the characters in the movie. We don't know how this disease incubates or how long it takes or what. And
do you think it's in the water? They seem to be boiling water all the time.
They're smart anyways. They're taking their chance, or they're not taking chances.
When they're boiling the water, there was a tag on that jug that said dirty. I think that because when they're washing dishes, they're reusing that water, boiling it to clean it up so they can reuse it again.
Conservation.
Yeah.
Do we know if it's airborne or not?
I don't
Once again, they
know.
seem to be not taking their chances. They're boiling water. They're wearing
face masks,
breathers,
and they're wearing those late
gas
gloves
masks
and everything.
Yeah, but I think that's an intentional part of the filmmaker, that the audience is in the dark as the characters in the film.
Because
we're not led by the hand through this movie at all, really.
Right. So this family is managing to get by anyways. We can see at the beginning of this.
Yeah.
And then a mysterious man appears.
Treated the way I think he honestly should be. You really don't know. Like you could say the scene is pointless with those 2 rednecks, but his point is to show, well, this is what people are dealing with in this time and situation, right? So yeah, knowing that that's out there and that might not be the first people that the Joel Edgerton character has encountered. The 6 main characters are all decent, good people, and it shows what this situation has brought out of them.
And you can understand it from both sides. Like I don't think they overpresent one side as being right and the other side as being wrong. You can totally understand why the one family is taking precautions and the other family might be a little bit more desperate trying to venture out and scavenge for supplies. And I found everything in that presentation-wise was totally believable. Yeah, and I agree with you. I don't think it was too harsh. I was thinking, I can't say that I would do anything different. You're not going to take your chances if your family's in jeopardy. That's your priority.
Oh, there's not an easy answer with either family in this film. Yeah, they're both, like you said, presented as doing the right thing for them. And it's hard to argue with either.
Yeah.
They only give you enough to keep you curious about what's going on, for sure. Yeah, which is really one of the crucial elements of the film.
I would say a lot of this movie is kind of like The Road, except The Road wasn't a psychological thriller. It was just...
They're both stories of desperation and what a decent person will do in those situations.
And when he ran across other people, what they were desperate to do, and they could have been decent people as well, but it's just...
But in that film, it's played much more straightforward as to, who's your enemy.
Yeah, he wasn't a psychological thriller, but it's kind of like the same almost setup where you don't know what caused all of this. You're just showing people living
I guess what I'm trying to get
world.
at is this movie captures the paranoia of fear like in almost no movie I've ever seen, which is it comes at night. It is the fear of the unknown. And this movie preys on that so effectively where, like you said, they only give you enough to keep you guessing and you're always on your toes like probably Joel Edgerton is. He's only going by his wits.
Yeah, there's not any downtime in this film. You're on edge as on edge as the characters are.
And the title I found deceiving. How they say, we never go outside unless absolutely necessary. So you're like, well, what is out there?
Oh, of course. It's very suggestive.
Right.
Of,
right. With it
So
being,
it's-
it not being a monster, it just representing the unknown.
True,
What-
and your
but how
fears.
they put this movie out there.
But again, that's marketing, right?
Yeah.
Don't criticize the film because
No,
I'm sure
no,
the
and-
director had nothing to do with
No,
how it was.
I agree, but it was like, I'm just trying to say, that's why I was kind of underwhelmed when watching this movie, but looking back, man, I really wish I knew because I would have enjoyed this movie just so much more.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I like that a lot of movies like this that are successful in dealing with, I hesitate to say post-apocalyptic or whatever, but, a situation like this where obviously a huge event has happened. I like when certain movies are able to put you into that world and not over-explain exactly what has put humanity in this situation, because sometimes you just don't need to know.
There's something to be said for that, but it's a different kind of movie, and that's not what this movie was, and it didn't need it. And I'm very glad they didn't.
Yeah,
include
this is
that.
not an action movie where they're going to solve the problem by the end.
But not even that, but something like this where everything else is so good, it's kind of like having a monster movie with a really bad monster. It takes you completely out of it. So as much as you could have a great character study like this in that situation, if you find out it's ridiculous, then that might pull you out of that a little bit.
Like I said, it would have been irrelevant to the story. And
Yeah, again, I think the movie is completely effective at what it wants to be, and it's too bad that people are being more critical of it as being a film that they wanted it to be instead of the film it is.
Because they've been misled.
Yeah, I liken it to after me and Megan watched A Most Violent Year. There are some younger guys, maybe college age, early 20s, 20-ish, sitting in front of us. And not very many people sit through the credits as I do, or try to do in most movies, but these guys did. But what made them sit through it is they were discussing amongst themselves how much they enjoyed the movie, and yet how much it wasn't the movie they were expecting. I mean, A Most Violent Year is a terrible title for that movie. Yeah. And it's a very good movie, but the movie is suggesting you're about to watch Goodfellas. And it's not at all. And these guys were clearly there because of that campaign that the movie was given. And this is the same thing. If a studio can just be confident in what they have when it's a strong film, market it to the people who are going to watch that movie. Why are they trying to market it to different crowds? It Comes at Night is no more for the 18 to 20-year-old crowd than A Most Violent Year was, unless you like good, intelligent movies. But
But I'm sure they're trying to tap into that Don't Breathe, Lights Out crowd that made those movies.
Yeah, but then the problem is you do that, those kids get out of that movie and they basically are telling everybody this is
That's the problem with social media, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, how much ahead does that really get you in that if you market this movie to what it is, whatever butts you would have got in the seats for people wanting a horror movie, the people that are looking for that thriller would almost replace them, you'd think.
Exactly. Yeah. The second weekend drop-off in box office sales for this movie was huge because...
I'm sure they were hoping on a giant opening weekend.
Yeah, and this movie had like a $2 million budget or something. It made like $11 million.
No, it's going to be profitable. It's just not going to be one of those giant hits.
But I think it's a movie worth rewatching for
sure. Actually, it might even be more effective at home. I don't know why. It's kind of a creepy, insular film.
Yeah, in a crowded theater full of people or in your own dark house on a Saturday night, right?
There was, like 7 of us in that theater?
Yeah.
On a side
Mine was about the same.
For the first time, I think, in my life, I went to see the movie. There was about 10 of us in the theater. All 10 of us were by ourselves. There wasn't one couple in the movie. It was just like, yeah. Okay, why don't we get into spoiler territory now?
Let's do it.
Spoilers. I love the idea that the it being the unknowable, and it never comes into play. We're always waiting for the shoe to drop. Who's in the forest? Are these guys, are the truckers dangerous? Who opened the door?
What attacked the dog?
Right. Yeah. We're never really told anything. It's the movie preys on the fear of the unknown completely.
And it's a different it for almost every character in the film, too.
For sure. Say, absolutely. I don't think I've ever seen a movie that just hinged completely on that premise of the unknowable. Everybody is only playing on their paranoia, and everything that bad happens in this movie is only happening because people are afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought just the way that the resolution and how it all pays off is so sad and tragic, and there's no winners and heroes.
It's a very difficult ending.
But just to get into discussion of theories, and this is one of the things that made me realize how good a movie it was, is that it's the kind of movie, much like an Arrival or A Simple Plan or something like that, where it engages you enough that you want to talk about it afterwards. It's just when the lights come up, the movie's not over because you're still thinking about it. Now there's, at least in my head, different theories as to exactly what happened. And Ivan and I saw the movie together, and even he and I had different different interpretations of what could have happened at the end. Okay, who got who sick, right? And I'll tell my side, and then maybe Ivan, you can tell what you interpreted. But I was thinking, like, okay, was the main teenager
Travis, and the locator was Andrew.
So my thought was just trying to piece the mystery together, because again, I went into this with the interpretation of this as a horror movie, so I'm trying to like dissect this thing.
Who's the bad guy?
Well, who's the bad guy? And I'm thinking it's Travis, because I'm thinking, who's the common denominator? He is with absolutely everybody that dies. He's with the grandfather. He's with the dog. Is he the one that gets Andrew sick? Because he's, of course, the one having the crazy dreams and spitting up the blood. So, these visions he's having, he's the one that's sick and infecting everybody, and it's just metabolizing really slowly in him, and it infects other people quicker? And that was my theory. And then, Ivan, you had a completely different interpretation towards the end.
Basically, we're talking about who opened the door?
That, and I think
literally or metaphorically.
Yeah.
Well, when they were showing all that religious imagery with those paintings, people with the black eyes, I started thinking, is this going to be some kind of like Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, pestilences doing all this? And then, of course, that went out the window.
I looked it up. It's a 15th century painting from Bruegel. It's called The Triumph of Death. I'm sure it's a celebration of the plague.
Yeah. So, one of the things that I was kind of thinking of afterwards was that Travis was sleepwalking. Paul and I discussed it. There could have been the fact that, when they said that the symptoms showed up in their dad in one day, but maybe he was sick for a while. It just, those major symptoms didn't hit until that time. So maybe there's a lot more to the sickness. So I was thinking Travis was sick. He was sleepwalking. And then some of his dreams weren't dreams of more memories. So remember that one scene when he goes outside looking for the dog, and to show the dog kind of being attacked by something, and then he's back in the house, he wakes up, and then he goes downstairs and that door is open with the dog.
Right.
So I was thinking that wasn't a dream, that was him remembering him sleepwalking. He went outside looking for the dog, he found the dog, and he brought him back into the house, and that's how he was exposed. And then he spread it
to Andrew when he carried the kid back to bed.
Yeah, and then everybody else kind of went from there.
That's pretty good. I was thinking along those lines too, that his dreams and sleepwalking might have something to do with it, and he's opened the door without him knowing it. It's either him or Andrew, right?
Yeah.
But here's one of the things that I have to ask.
But I don't know how Andrew could have opened the door if it was locked.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Is the door only locked from the inside and you can open it easily from the inside to get out? Does it only work from the outside to get in?
I think the key is for when they're outside, yeah.
I thought at the beginning of the movie when the first guy shows up, Will, and they say there's somebody in the house, I thought when they're all running around that somebody says, go get the key for the door, that they needed the key to open the door.
Well, and depending on how you interpret who was sick first.
If anyone was sick.
Well, true.
The dog and the grandfather at the beginning are the only ones we can definitively say were sick.
And then
I was just going to say, the perception of who you believe to be sick, whether it's Andrew or Travis, whatever, really changes how you interpret that scene at the end where the one family is trying to leave. Is that family leaving because they know Andrew's sick and they don't want the other family to know because they know they're going to shoot him out of their paranoia? Or is it that family that they believe they believe Travis is sick and they're trying to get out of there before they get infected? Because they play that off really well, where they don't give up too much either, where they say, we know how you're going to react, just let us go. But that can be played a couple different ways. And I think that's very clever because, again, it's all up to interpretation. And you think you understand it one way.
That's what I love about the movie, is it's so smart like that.
And my comment is to build on yours, is how they refuse to let anybody see Andrew's face. Now, that can be interpreted in two ways. Do they not want them to see the face because the signs are showing, or because they're trying to hide their kid from the violence going on in the house?
I thought it was because he's sick.
That's what I thought, but it
could also be because they don't want them to see the violence.
Yeah, once he's suspected of being sick, we never see his face again as the audience. Right?
Yeah.
So
I'm sure that the film is purposely vague. Like the director wants you to watch it a few times and still never know.
It's the kind of film that I won't commit to my own theory on. I'll just enjoy the ambiguity of it. But
giving any answers to these would only undermine what he's trying to do with the film in the first place, prey on the unknown.
Yeah.
And you can just see that when society goes down and rules rules don't apply anymore, how people can become so guarded, and how your neighbor and everyone around you is now your enemy. It would be an awful, horrible thing to go through.
And I think that Joel Edgerton's character is showing how far he's going to protect his family.
Also, how useless it is at the end, as far as you can do everything within your power to try to protect yourself against this thing. And in the end, it was fruitless, and it ended up
totally. Because the problem is you can do everything right on the outside, but if the inside, if all of that stuff is preying on you, then you don't have a chance.
Yeah, it was either all for nothing because they all got sick anyways, or just because of the terrible things they've become. Either way, it's a terrible, terrible ending for anyone to have gone through.
Even the whole brothers story, how they kept doing that with Will, right?
Exactly.
To throw you off.
It's either the truth or a lie, and either way it works, right?
Yeah.
Right. The fact that they cut and never even show you that scene where he picks the family up, he just arrives with them.
Yeah.
We're missing so much information there that we could be playing with, but he's not going to give us anything.
And it's not needed for the story.
Right. And there's also that scene where they're attacked by those two people when they're driving, and he shoots him really quickly, and the guys, and we're not quite sure, does Will know those two people?
Once again, yeah.
No, but Will was also fighting those guys. Like, Will was beating on one of those guys.
But does he know them or not? Does he know who they are?
Maybe, but then if he did, why would he be beating them? Why would he be fighting them? You would think that he would help them take care of Paul.
Not necessarily. If you got this great house and the situation to live in,
maybe.
You might easily give up on those two guys.
True. And then the whole thing was like when Kim was saying that she's known Will since they were Travis's age. So he was saying that, well, he considers her brother his brother. That could be the truth.
Exactly.
Because if they've known each other for 10 years, maybe they were that close.
Yeah.
Well, and there's certain cultures that your relatives, there's not that distinction of brother-in-law or whatever. It's if you're part of the family, your brother. And I thought it was perfect. Like the momentum of the story, everything about the movie I thought worked really well in that it didn't overstay its welcome. It was exactly as long as it needed to be. It didn't feel short. You didn't feel cheated when it ended. It's not like watching, like we had discussed about certain movies before about how there's a murder mystery and they reveal the killer and you're like, how the hell did you come up with that? Right?
Yeah.
Like there wasn't that. So yeah, I thought everything was presented, like you said, Ron, everything was done very deliberately and pulled off very well.
Because what happened to your dog could have been just as simple as it was a coyote out there or another stray dog.
No, the dog looked infected.
Who knows what it was?
Well, based on the sound when the dog did run away, it sounded like it might have got attacked. It's ambiguous, but it might have. And when it came back, it looked like there was a wound on its side.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But was that from an attack, or is that one of the sores that the disease
I thought it was,
right?
Yeah, I thought the second.
Just there's so much.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It just keeps you guessing, kind of keeps throwing you all different directions. That's why I thought that, maybe it is a horror movie because there really is something out there, but it just kind of keeps jumping around.
Yeah, it's a very well-made film.
Yeah, I've seen a few films like this recently in the last few years with people kind of holed up in a house in the woods kind of thing. There was that movie Hush that you recommended a little while ago with the deaf woman.
Yep.
And then Into the Forest was a movie from last year with Ellen Page, kind of the same scenario. But this one just takes it to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
All of those movies, we knew what the it was.
Yeah.
It's far scarier to not even have an it.
Yeah, leave it at your imagination.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. If they would have brought the horror elements that everybody wanted into this, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it.
Oh, it's not that I wanted it. It's just that's what I was expecting because of the advertising.
Right.
What did you think of Elvis's granddaughter?
Huh?
Elvis's granddaughter played Kim.
Callie Coe?
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. She was also in Mad Max.
The daughter of Priscilla Presley?
Yes.
Huh.
No, Lisa Marie, daughter of Lisa Marie.
Oh, Lisa Marie. Okay, right.
Because granddaughter.
Okay, hold
on.
on.
Lisa married to Priscilla.
Okay.
He was married to Priscilla. She wasn't his daughter.
Right. Okay, well, right. Sorry.
She was 16 when they met,
right?
But not his daughter.
No, I didn't sense any. She didn't remind me of Elvis.
No.
That's funny.
She didn't leave you all shook up.
Who's she married to now? I know she was married to Nicolas Cage for a while, right?
Michael Jackson.
Right.
Yeah. She was the redhead in Mad Max.
Okay. So was there anything else that we wanted to talk about this film? Anything, any other scenes or moments?
My only major criticism, it relied a bit too much on the loud bang surprise scares for the audience, which gets the audience on edge a little bit, but...
Trailer moments.
Yeah, it gets them on edge for when's the next big loud scare coming. It's not real tension, so but that's pretty minor.
Yeah, and without the dream sequences, you wouldn't have much of that.
No, it's the dream sequences and a couple times approaching the door, like the character of Travis would quickly turn around and run to go get his parents, and there'd be that loud bang shock at the moment he turns around. Well, what was even the point of that? Just, like I said, a couple of stylistic choices like that. Minor problems in a very very good thriller.
I remember the first time when Travis was interacting with Kim. Remember that scene in the kitchen?
Mm-hmm.
Do you recall how she was like staring at something like behind her the entire time when he walks in? She was like bent over doing one of those when he walks in and spooks her. So I was kind of
For those that can't see, Ivan leaned over and looked behind him.
That's right.
That's what one of those means.
And then I was just kind of curious, like what was going on. Was maybe Will doing something and she was kind of almost being a lookout? Maybe she heard something.
So I assumed she was kind of just looking down, kind of tired, sleepy. But
that's what I like about this movie.
Yeah,
they're using movie conventions, right? And saying anything could be anything. You know, anytime a character does anything in a movie, well, what's that character doing? In this movie, it's probably nothing.
And then it has you focused on the wrong thing, and then it takes a different turn. So it's all part of the construction, I guess.
Yeah. So I think
that's true.
All in all, I think we all enjoyed the film.
Yeah. And I think for all our listeners, if you just go in there in the right frame of mind, you will as well.
Yeah, it's a great psychological thriller.
And like I said, it's the kind of movie that the more I think about it, the more I like it, because it does stay with you and it does spark conversation like this, which
a lot of horror thrillers don't. Right?
No, exactly. The end sequence comes up and it's done.
Yeah, I thought it was a very effective film at what it wanted to be. And I hope a lot more people check it out when it goes on Netflix or arrives at home.
I agree.
Yeah,
Me too.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
All right. We'll wrap it up for that. So why don't we move on to our rant and rave segment? I think Paul is going to go first this week.
I'm so unprepared. No, that's a lie. I'm very prepared. I'm going to start out before I get into my true rant and rave just with a quick hit on The Handmaid's Tale. Finished season 1, and I felt it was a very strong season. It held the story consistent and the tone consistent through the whole season. I didn't feel there was any lags. There's 10 episodes, which I think was perfect. It ends leaving you wanting more. As far as Megan, I think, said that the lead actress was signed for 7 seasons. I don't know how they can stretch this story for 7 seasons. It seems ambitious. It seems like the kind of story that would almost be perfect for like a 3 or 4 season story arc where you don't want it to overstay its welcome too much. You don't want them to stretch certain elements and kind of get bored of it. I thought the first season was strong.
See where it goes then and see how long the series lasts.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very good first season anyway. So I thought I'd just give a little bit of a follow-up on that because sometimes the series can start out strong and end pretty weak. So then I'll get into my actual official rant and rave. I'll continue on with another TV show and another TV show that I've only actually started to watch, and it's American Gods. It's a show that I've wanted to watch for a while and just
very interested in this.
Finally caught up with it.
Do you have Amazon Prime?
Nope, but I have the internets.
Okay.
I have Amazon Prime.
Yeah. That's where it's available.
Right. Basically, the story centers around, and I don't want to get too much into the story, and I mean, really, seeing the first episode, I can't really delve too deep into it anyways, but it focuses around an ex-con he's just released from prison, and he's trying to make his way home, and it just kind of gets into people he meets along the way, and information he's given and discovers on his way, and I'll leave it at that, but it's very twisted, it's very dark, it's extremely bizarre. Ian McShane is fucking fantastic as you'd expect him to be.
He's the only star in it that I know. Anybody else I would?
Emily Browning. And Crispin Glover's in it later on.
Wow. Yeah. Well, you want weird.
But anyways, just a first blush take on it. It's extremely bizarre. Half the show you're trying to figure out exactly what's going on, but very engaging, and it ends and you just want to watch more. So I really liked it, and I can't wait to delve more into the rest of the season. So hopefully it continues on. It's a show that seems to be very divisive because I've heard other reviews that people that want everything explained to them right off the bat, they're not going to like this show. It's almost like a Lost or that kind of vein where you're really trying to figure it out. And half the fun is not knowing what's going on, really.
And how many episodes in?
We've only seen the first episode, and there are 8 in the first season.
If they want to know the whole story, read the comic.
Yeah, it's created by Neil Gaiman, right?
Yeah.
Like he's actually a producer on the show.
As far as I know,
yeah, we saw the trailer, and we actually had a link to the trailer on our social media, and it got me interested right away. I hadn't really heard of this before. I've got friends that have read the book and loved the book.
I've heard great things about it, and I hear it only gets crazier.
Yeah, there's one scene in the first episode that I was watching and going, I don't know what's going on here. It's oddly erotic and disturbing at the same time. I don't know what to make of this, but yeah, it's really, really interesting. Not going to be for everybody, but if you want something a little dark, a little twisted, and yeah, this is your kind of show.
And if you can find it.
The trailer I found intriguing anyway.
Yeah.
So.
And then my second rave, so that was obviously a rave. My second rave was a movie I just finally caught up with, Shane Black's The Nice Guys, and loved this movie.
Excellent.
I was worried because the trailer, I thought, oh, this looks fantastic. And how many times have we seen a fantastic trailer that's got a great style, has
with all the best jokes in the trailer?
Exactly. And that's really what I was worried about, but that is not the case here. It's so engaging. It's so fun, and the style and sensibility about it, loved it. So basically the story is Russell Crowe plays kind of a hired goon, kind of a heavy, and he ends up, I hesitate to say befriends, but ends up helping Ryan Gosling, who plays a private eye, and they're looking into a missing girl, and they're in LA, and just the weird and wonderful things going on. Like, half the time you have to listen to dialogue that's going on in the background of the characters that are people just walking by, and some of that's just as funny as what the main characters are actually saying, but just thoroughly enjoyable. It reminded me of like the great buddy action movies of like yesteryear, kind of like Lethal Weapon.
Which she wrote.
Well, yeah, fair enough. And just that great action movie that you don't always get.
And two standout performances.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, the little girl, and I can't remember the actress's name, but she was great, and she plays Ryan Gosling's daughter. She was fantastic.
Daughter / mother.
Well, yes. / chauffeur.
Yeah.
But yeah, thoroughly enjoyable, and the chemistry between Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe was amazing.
I was surprised how much chemistry they had. I would never have heard those two actors and thought that would be a good buddy film. But
I agree. But no, it made me actually hope that there's a sequel, or hope that if there's not a sequel to this, that they actually work together in a similar vein. So yeah, I thoroughly loved this movie.
As you know, it made my top 10 last year, so
it sure did, which gave me
in agreement with you.
It gave me a lot more encouragement that it was actually gonna be as good as I hoped it to be, and it certainly delivers on everything I wanted this movie to be. So yeah, 2 strong raves for me.
Cool. American Gods and The Nice Guys.
Yes.
Ivan, what do you got?
Mine are neither going to be rants nor raves. They're going to be more like,
The old eh?
I guess the first one's going to be...
Not the meh, but the eh.
Just, yeah.
That's a subtle difference.
Right.
So, War Machine, the Netflix Brad Pitt movie.
Right.
I thought it was actually interesting movie, but my biggest criticism, I guess, is probably didn't really commit to a style. You know, at one point they wanted to be kind of more of a satire movie, especially the way that Brad Pitt plays his character, kind of almost over the top. But then he doesn't really fully commit to being a satire movie. He kind of goes more towards trying to being a serious movie. I don't know. I think if they kind of went one way or the other, you know, if they don't dick around with it, go halfway. Because I just find that with the story that he had, it could have been better if they stuck to one tone and kind of went all out with it.
I agree. Yeah. At the ending, the whole scene with the soldier.
Yeah.
It's nothing like the other parts of the movie, for sure.
Yeah.
But enough of it worked for me to give it a minor recommendation.
And that's why I'm not, you know, it's not a rant, it's not a rave, it's just kind of in the middle. It's one of those movies. Brad Pitt did some very interesting things with that character, that's for sure. Especially when he's running, kind of remind me of that character from Seinfeld that never moves their arms. You know?
Yeah, I know. He's really got this whole kind of character going in this, and it's... And he's playing over the top in this movie, and the rest of the movie really isn't.
It's an okay movie, not great, not one that you're going to be like, oh, this is a piece of shit. It's just okay. And my other meh movie is The Mummy.
Hey,
oh, you did go see it.
I did see it.
Good for you.
Once again, this movie was hurt by the whole non-committal thing. You know, they're trying to make this a dark universe about monsters, but, you know, so they're kind of trying to do it where it's a serious monster movie, but then it's kind of lighthearted. So it was a lot of jokes. And then Tom Cruise, of course, with the female lead, there was a lot of jokes. They're trying to kind of have these humor conversations where it's like serious things going on. Yeah. And for character development, really wasn't much. Tom Cruise's character, it's like the whole, you know, he's a treasure hunter. Russell Crowe seems to be the only guy that kind of really knew what he was doing there. When he was playing Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, he was just doing his thing.
My problem with the trailer was it looked just so much like a Tom Cruise action vehicle. I'd rather it be more of a throwback to the old Universal horror films myself.
The thing is, says a lot where I'm going to say that the Brendan Fraser one was better.
That does say
That's saying a lot.
Because
At least it probably knew what it wanted to be.
Yeah, it was very much had that humor.
It wanted to be Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it did an okay job at it.
And, the humor in that one worked because it was kind of, they played it as a silly movie.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, they kind of played it as a straight up dark universe movie. So when they did these jokes, that's what you're focusing on right now.
Yeah, I heard a lot of that was Tom Cruise induced. Like, he really took a huge producing handle on this movie. And Alec Kurtzman, who directed it, isn't really a seasoned director. And Tom Cruise kind of overtook the production quite a bit and really Tom Cruisified the movie more than it was.
Crucified.
Yeah, if you want to go that. So it's too bad, especially for their first
definitely
movie in this dark
right
universe.
Out of the gate.
Yeah. Does it have any horror elements to it? Or is it just pretty much kind of an action?
The horror elements is like they're trying to do those jump scares, which also found annoying. Like they're in a tunnel. She's running away from a zombie. So they put a camera facing her. There's nothing behind her. They turn the camera to Tom Cruise for like a couple of seconds. They turn it back to her and there's not a zombie, a mummy like right behind her in like those 2 seconds.
The Walking Dead.
It's that kind of lazy direction that made me stop watching The Walking Dead. So.
Right.
Yeah, like that kind of jump scares, So it was just stuff like that.
I only got around to the first season of Penny Dreadful, but that was already a far more effective integration of Dorian Gray and, the Mummy and werewolves and vampires and Jekyll and Hyde than I think this dark universe is going to be.
No, and that's just it. I just thought that this movie was kind of all over the place. They should have committed either make it a dark horror movie or make it more campy at least. So
especially when you're setting up a universe, and I hear right from the opening it says dark universe.
Yeah,
across,
it does. It really does say dark
what
universe.
What are they thinking?
That is awful.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's a good thing we decided to review It Comes at Night rather than the Mummy.
Oh, definitely.
The thing is, I'm still curious about seeing it because I love
you and your genres.
Bad movies. Yeah, I know, and I want to see just how badly they could have screwed it up because I did have high hopes for this and for this universe that they want to pull off. But boy, if this is how they're going to treat it with like the main star just revamping whatever he wants to do and make the movie his own, then they don't have a chance.
They need a stronger voice.
Right.
But they're also bringing in, like, I heard they're doing a Hunchback of Notre Dame movie.
I'm sure they will.
Part of this universe?
Yeah.
That's not really part of the Universal horror monster series, though.
But they want to bring them in as part of that.
Well,
it would be great if they could integrate them, but
but once again, they're shooting so high, and I mean they've already stumbled out of the gate. So the only reason this movie is being saved right now is international box office, and even then they're expecting it to lose a lot of money.
We'll see.
We'll see if they do the same thing with the next one, and people don't turn out. Then that's going to kill it.
Without a Kevin Feige in control of the whole universe and all the films, I don't think your universe has a chance. You need a Kathleen Kennedy or someone who's
a guiding force.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And don't give a first-time director somebody that can be easily just kind of crumble under a big star telling him what to do.
Well, if you give your star final cut of the film, then that's what happens.
I got to say, for Tom Cruise, he usually picks good projects, makes good movies, but I mean, can't even remember the last one I saw of his out of the last number of movies where I can say it's like, wow, this was...
No, the days of him taking the chances of things like Magnolia and Eyes Wide Shut are far behind him. He's just settled into an action vein.
But usually they're still good. Like, I loved all, like, his last, 4 or 5 movies before this.
Apparently the last Jack Reacher was not good, so...
It was okay, but Mummy was definitely weaker than that.
Too bad. But I'm glad one of us had to sacrifice his time to go see it, and I'm glad it was you.
Well, you might still see it, and then we'll get
I'll
to
see it at home.
Yeah, I'll wait for Netflix on that one.
And the way it's going, it might be there sooner than later.
That's right. Okay, that's all you got, Ivan? Okay, so that was The Mummy and...
War Machine.
All right, and War Machine. Okay, Dex, what do you got today?
All right, so I will start out with Mr. Nobody. It's a Jared Leto film. I caught it on Netflix. It's from 2009. I didn't realize it was that old, but the director is Jaco van Dormael, if I'm pronouncing that right, which I doubt. Ultimately, I'd say this movie didn't work for me. What it's very effective at, and for a science nerd like me, and guy who's read a ton of books by, Stephen Hawking and Michio Kaku, and I'm into the theories about alternate realities and alternate universes and, Heisenberg's uncertainty principle and quantum mechanics. This, more than just about any movie I've ever seen, is effective at conveying those ideas cinematically for an audience to understand, and it does them in really interesting ways. It's about a guy, Jared Leto, a covers him from boyhood to a death as a young man, death as a middle-aged man, death as a really old man, as he is somehow gets the ability to see his life through all the different possibilities, the different choices he can or will make or doesn't make, and where they'll take him throughout his life. And so he sees, based on one choice, where that can lead, or if he took the other choice, where that would take him. The problem dramatically for me is that you see so many different timelines and storylines and possibilities for him that, to me, none of them were allowed to develop enough that they really engaged me. Right. It's a well-made film and pretty solid. I wanted to like it more than I did, and I recommend it for the reasons I did, but I also found it a little dramatically flat, which disappointed me.
If I remember correctly, wasn't there something about him telling a story how when you were born, you are given all the knowledge of where your life could be, like guided, but then an angel's supposed to come down and take those memories away from you?
Yeah, they give an explanation like that, and he doesn't get that contact from the angel.
Yeah, they skip him over or miss him or forget about him.
It's the throwaway reason as to how he's able to perceive all these different
angels.
Yeah.
Then again, have to do with Heisenberg. Now we're talking George Bailey territory.
Well, that's the thing, is he's telling that story while he's the last man alive on Earth who has not accepted immortality. So he's on his deathbed. Everyone else around him, barring an accident or a murder, will live forever. And he's pretty old and decrepit at this point. So yeah, take that explanation as you will. But the movie's constructed around his ability to perceive these different possibilities to his life. I will only recommend it to people who want to see pretty good cinematic explanations of these quantum mechanic type scientific ideas.
That sounds interesting.
Science nerds might find a lot to like in it.
Sounds interesting to me.
It's not a terrible film, just kind of a misfire.
Okay, so that was Mr. Nobody?
Mr. Nobody.
Okay.
And then my second movie, which I do recommend, is The Gift. Speaking of Joel Edgerton, I thought it would be a good companion piece. I saw this trailer a while back, and I was very intrigued, and having now watched the film, it's pretty good. It's a good directorial debut, that's for sure. There's a lot to like about this movie. Good cast, good characters. It's a solid thriller about a man who's got things to hide from his past. Him and his wife moved to a small town. Sorry, not a
Jason
small town.
Bateman?
Yeah, Jason Bateman. They moved to, for financial reasons, he has a new job offer in California, so they moved back to where he grew up in California. They were living in the Midwest. And he runs into someone from his past, played by Joel Edgerton, someone he knew in high school. They seem to be kind of developing a bit of a reawakening of an old friendship. It doesn't really go very well beyond that. It's a pretty good thriller. I thought the ending was not as effective as I would like, is the main problem. Jason Bateman ends up in a terrible situation at the end, and you don't want to cheer for him, and you're not. By that point in the film, you're upset with him. He's not a hero.
No.
By any stretch. So you don't mind that bad things are happening to him. He gets his comeuppance. The only problem is these problems in our modern scientific world would be solved within about a week. He'd have his answer. I can't say too much more without spoilers, but it's a nice, mostly effective ending for the film, but it's spoiled by logic, I guess. Logic dictates that he will get his answer pretty shortly for not too much of an expense. And then there you have it. It's hard to talk about this, a thriller like this without spoilers. So
I just saw it. I'd agree with everything you said, but it's a minor recommendation for me.
Yeah, it's a decent thriller, and I look forward to more from Joel Edgerton as a director based on this. Written and directed by him, so solid.
Yeah, and he's good in it too. He is so good in everything.
He's a fantastic actor. Yeah.
So that's all you got?
That's all I got.
Okay, Mr. Nobody and The Gift. Okay, I'll go. I'll start off with the rave. This would be Ang Lee's movie, Billy Lynn's Halftime Walk. This is, of course, Ang Lee from Ice Storm, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Brokeback Mountain, and Life of Pi. So I'm a huge fan of his. I'll give you the synopsis. The film follows Billy Lynn, a 19-year-old soldier who, after a heroic deed, is brought back home from Iraq for a propaganda tour to help put a positive spin on the war. I'll give you some background stuff before I talk about the film. Did you know it was what Ang Lee did with this movie? He shot it in the highest frame rate of all time.
Really?
Remember what Peter Jackson did with the Hobbit movies? Yeah. It was like 48 frame rate. Yeah, he did 120 on this, and he was trying to capture a realistic look, so much more than you would get in any normal film.
So almost more like a documentary?
Yeah, I think that's what he was going for. Of course, I saw it at home, so I didn't get any of that effect. The movie was one of last year's biggest bombs. It only made $1.7 million domestically.
I never heard of it.
$40 million budget. I don't know if it was in theaters for more than a week or two. It did okay worldwide. I think it didn't make its money back, but at least it did, okay around the west of the world. Americans, I guess, just aren't interested in the wars that they're participating in. But I like this movie a lot. It kind of reminds me of Clint Eastwood's film, Flag of Our Fathers, about soldiers who are put in the uncomfortable position of selling war instead of fighting it. How different the perceptions that for what's happening in the war and what's really going on back there. This is right around 2003, 2004 it takes place. So we're right at the time when the Iraq War was heating up and very unpopular. And I should say this actor, Joe Alwyn, who plays Billy Lynn, it's his first movie and he's terrific in it. It's got a nice supporting cast. Steve Martin is in it. Chris Tucker, Kristen Stewart, Vin Diesel. It's actually really good in this, playing a soldier. First time, I think, since Saving Private Ryan. Basically, just we see in flashbacks what happened with Billy Lynn and his team in Iraq and what they went through. And it's all parallel with this big event that he's participating in, which is at a football, I don't think it's the Super Bowl, but it's like a halftime show where they're bringing out Beyonce and Destiny's Child is on there. Maybe it is the Super Bowl. And he's just brought out to be decoration for this performance. Like all of his team are standing out there and he's like in the middle of the glitz and everybody's cheering. And it's all while he's having these flashbacks of what war really is and what is he doing, in the States doing all of these things and how conflicted he is. And it's a simple movie. Just that's really what it's about. And I enjoyed it a lot.
I've heard very positive things about it from other movie podcasts and other critics. And yeah, anything I've heard has all been very positive. So that's what's really put it on my radar for wanting to see. So
I'll watch any Ang Lee movie, so I'm interested.
And it's got a strong supporting cast of kind of unknown guys who play his regiment. There's about 8 of them on his unit who have all been brought back to participate in this thing. And all of these guys are really good. I think I've seen a few of them in some other movies, but I can't recognize. I don't know their names or anything, but really good actors there. I just recommend this movie. It's on Movie Central right now. I don't think it's hit Netflix quite yet, but when it comes out, check it out. It's some very interesting movie.
I'm watching for it.
Yeah, I'll have to. Maybe just didn't get a big push or what?
For sure it didn't. I just, like War Machine we were talking about, Americans have no interest in movies about their wars. And it's
or at least ones that don't agree with their view.
Maybe they just hear so much about it in their daily press that they don't want to see a movie about it too.
Yeah, well, for us, what I've seen, most of the movies that are big in the States about war is just like the rah-rah, go America type deal movies.
And this movie is definitely not that. But it's definitely celebrating soldiers, and I like that aspect of it.
And interesting, just to that point in this whole theme, I noticed, I think it was today or the other day, that Born on the 4th of July was just recently added to Netflix. So, which, kind of similar idea.
Right. Thank you for my segue. My next rave is going to be Oliver Stone's HBO 4-part series, The Putin Interviews. Do any of you guys have any interest in watching 4 hours of Vladimir Putin being interviewed?
I'm totally going to watch this. I was going to watch them each night as they were airing, which I assume you did, but I totally forgot about it, and so I'll just have to catch up with it.
It's terrific. I really enjoyed it. Of course, Oliver Stone is getting bashed by all the regular media guys as being communist-friendly and all of the other things that he's always being labeled as.
So hang on, they're bashing him for being communist-friendly, but they're okay with the president being communist-friendly?
Thank you.
And dictator-friendly?
Thank you. Oliver Stone has never once proclaimed to be a journalist. He's always taken on the mantle of artist. And this is a documentary film. And the whole idea that people are saying, why would you give this guy a spotlight? Why would you want to give this guy a platform to speak about anything? And it's like, how childish are we? How are we ever going to learn about anybody if we just can't sit down and talk with them, whether we disagree with them or not? I will say after 4 hours, my opinion on Vladimir Putin has changed quite a bit. I still don't like him as a person, but he is very charismatic and very intelligent and very specific on why he's doing what he's doing. And this gets into the election and the Ukraine, his personal history and where he came from, being a part of the KGB. They get into Snowden, too.
He's one of the most fascinating personalities in the modern world. Whether you like him or hate him, I can't see it not being a very interesting
for sure
documentary series.
I think some people were saying to Oliver, well, how do you know he's not lying about this? And, he's full of lies. And I was like, well, sure he is. Have we met the current president of the United States?
Yeah, maybe he is.
Politicians lie all the time.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind getting his perspective on what he thinks.
His version of the truth.
Right. Yeah. And I'm not going to say he swayed me to his ideas at all, but I will say he's as a leader, he's absolutely concerned with the welfare of the Russian people. That comes across for sure. He cares about his country.
The non-gay Russian people.
They get into that too. They get into a lot of things. It's 4 hours that whizzes by. Maybe you don't want to do all 4 hours at once.
No, it seems like intense. I'd split it up a bit.
One of my favorite moments, it's almost surreal, is they're talking movies, and he mentions to Putin, have you ever seen Dr. Strangelove?
Yeah.
And Putin's like, no, Dr. Strangelove, no. And
sounds good to me.
So I'm like, oh, hopefully next time they see each other, he'll come back with a review or something. They cut to a screening room, Oliver Stone and him watching it with the entire Russian cabinet behind him, all watching Dr. Strangelove. It's hilarious. It's surreal. Just for that moment, I loved it. Yeah, I just recommend it. I love Oliver Stone for just being a voice out there contrary to other people and doing things his way. And whether you're political or whether you're on his side or not, at least you're getting more information and you can judge.
He at least has
what to do with it yourself.
He has the guts to dissect and disseminate things beyond what the American media will allow themselves to do. And you don't have to agree with his politics to me, respect what he's doing at least.
Right. And I don't think he has an agenda in this. Yeah, some people were saying, why aren't you harder on him? I mean, he's the Russian president. He's being
they said the same
invited to Moscow to do this interview. You have to warm up to your interviewer. You can't just
start attacking.
He's not Mike Wallace, right?
And they probably have certain things that he is just not allowed to even talk about,
or maybe just
clearance with anything, right?
Mm-hmm. I was surprised how candid he is. He's willing to answer almost every question, whether he's telling the truth or not.
Yeah. But some of that's part of the fun, too, is like, as you get to know somebody, let your bullshit meter kind of activate and, exactly. How much do you trust? How much do you not? And like you said, learn more about somebody that we're really only getting one side of the story.
Sure. Yeah, he's known for interviewing a lot of world leaders like Fidel Castro or Hugo Chavez. So he is, Oliver Stone is interested in these world leaders and what makes the world tick and what separates us as countries. And, you're only going to find out what's going on and advance yourself if you talk to the other person. And it's my understanding. You just can't throw the Iron Curtain back and pretend that, these countries don't exist.
Yeah. I mean, I just started watching today at lunch hour with my buddy Chris, The White Helmets for the second time. Mm-hmm. And that reaffirmed to me how much I hate Putin. And
oh, for sure. Syria is very complicated.
And yet you have to, like you said, sit down and listen to him and see what he's saying. What's his reasoning? What's his side?
Mm-hmm. Now, like I'm sure our listeners want to know what he thought of the fucking movie. You can't just start that conversation, start that section, and then just move on.
So that's a spoiler. Watch it and find out.
Yeah, I need to know now.
That's my hook.
Well, you hooked me because honestly, leading into it, I'm like, there's no fucking way I'm watching 4 hours of this, but you sold me on it.
Mm-hmm. And it flies by. It's not just all at a table, right? They're moving around and there's background history and,
Yeah, I love Oliver Stone, and I was immediately intrigued as soon as I heard about this and saw those commercials on the movie network. And does it play kind of like his Commandante and the other film he did about Castro?
No, not really. No? It's similar, but he's doing his own thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I totally recommend this movie. I recommend this 4-part series for all of you political nuts out there if you're interested.
Communists and cars getting coffee?
You got it. One more quick thing, just to get off politics. New on Netflix is a documentary called S for Stanley. It's written and directed by Alex Inaficelli, and it's the story of Emilio D'Alessandro, a man who dreamed of being a professional race car driver, but instead became the driver and personal assistant to Stanley Kubrick by complete accident. Did you see this documentary?
No.
Have you seen it on Netflix?
How many different takes of Stanley Kubrick's life do we need in documentaries?
Plenty, and I'll watch all of them. This is pretty entertaining. It's really short, like 80 minutes, but it shows this guy who had one idea for his life and it completely became something different. He got the job being just a personal driver. Besides being a race car driver, he was making his living just doing errands and delivering things. Mm-hmm. So he was the one who was entrusted to drive across London the giant porcelain cock from A Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
And he had to stick it in his little Mini. He had
dirty
this giant phallic ceramic penis that he's driving across town, sticking out of his window. And he drove it to the set and delivered it to Stanley. And Stanley said, you're the only guy that they could find to do this. Would you mind, delivering more stuff for us? And because of that little incident, he became a 30-year relationship with Stanley Kubrick, picking up and driving and getting and doing all of his handiwork and just about anything you could imagine, besides just being a driver. He became almost like a personal assistant and friend. Not quite that.
Not a lover dog.
I like the movie because it reinforces everything I know about Stanley with his obsessiveness and his absolute adherence to adopt his way of doing things. And this guy practically gives up his life like a lot of people did. If you're on the Stanley Kubrick train, it's full board and you don't really have a personal life anymore. And it's a hilarious relationship of how this guy just became attached to this guy for 30 years and wanted his own life back, and his wife wanted it back, but Stanley's lure was just too strong, and the friendship that grew out of it, it's really nice. It's a simple documentary, and if you're a Stanley Kubrick fan, check it out. You'll learn a little bit more about Stanley.
All right, I've got another lunchtime show.
There you go. If you've read there's a great side book called Eyes Wide Open by Frederick Raphael. He was the writer on Eyes Wide Shut. He talks about his relationship with Stanley. Those two, this documentary and that book, if you check both of those out, you'll have a complete understanding of what it was like working with Stanley Kubrick on a daily basis and how difficult and wonderful it could be. Yeah, recommend that. It's called S for Stanley. And two more big raves, Billy Lynn's Halftime Walk by Ang Lee and The Putin Interviews by Oliver Stone. So I recommend them all.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap it up for another week. We'll be back next time to talk about Edgar Wright's new film, Baby Driver. Until then, please subscribe and give us a rating or like on our iTunes and YouTube accounts. You can also like and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you're interested, you can always comment and search for our past reviews at our website at whywecmovies@libsyn.com. Until then, take care.
So long.
Ciao, ciao for now.
Lights.